I'm Haruko from Lovetheway Art. Today, I'm going to talk about the social media dilemma and the wisdom of Lotus, the lovely flower used in Lovetheway's logo. Social media has pros and cons, and while there's a great deal of positive aspect in our lives, I'm going to focus on the negative side of it today. For example, as a number of studies shows, social media's addictive nature can lead to decreased productivity, lack of sleep, social isolation, and feeling of shame. It can be a source of misinformation, propaganda, and it has been linked to cyberbullying, harassment, and online hate speech. The list goes on. I think one of the most consequential negative impact of social media is its role in creating and worsening the culture of comparison, where we feel pressure to present an idealized version of ourselves and compete for attention and validation. Just think about when you post on social media. People naturally pick whatever photo shows the most perfect smile and pose. You would make sure that it represents the best of you and the brightest side of your life. I'm speaking from my own experience. Consequently, social media is loaded with images, selfies, and snapshots of traveling and social events of people that are often carefully selected and filtered. It is quite natural that we feel inadequate when comparing our lives with those who seemingly having a better life than ours. This culture of comparison, created and reinforced by social media, is a major contributor to mental health issues, leading us to feel anxiety, low self-esteem, and depression. This culture is fed by the positive feedback loop of likes and comments that are causing addiction to social media. In 2020, the documentary film Social Dilemma, Tristan Harris, an executive director and co-founder of the Center for Human Technology, said, "Social media isn't a tool that's just waiting to be used. It has its own goals and its own means of pursuing them by using your psychology against you. Social media companies has a business model to keep us engaged and on our screen for as long as possible, primarily by creating a psychological and emotional dependence on its use. They use a reward system with likes, comments, and nudges that create a sense of anticipation and excitement. They also use algorithms to personalize content and notifications based on our behavior, which can make the experience more engaging and addictive." In the same film, Anna Lemke, a professor of psychiatry at the Stanford University School of Medicine, said, "Social media is a drug. We have basic biological imperatives to connect with each other that directly affect the release of dopamine and the reward pathway. Millions of years of evolution are behind that system to get us to come together and live in a community, to find mates, to propagate our species. But there is no doubt that the vehicle like social media, which optimizes this connection between people, is going to have the potential for addiction." In a way, social media uses a form of psychological manipulation that keeps us coming back for more and encourage addictive behavior. Even if you are not actively participating in the game, because social media is so deeply intertwined in our lives, emotionally as well as economically, by simply using it, we are already a part of the system that is contributing to the culture of comparison and mental health problems. Although it might not be obvious on the surface, the very people who are posting such a glorious image of themselves might be feeling inadequacies and anxieties that may be causing them to desperately seek validation by keep posting those unrealistic images, further reinforcing their behavior. We are in a very complicated social media dilemma. So, what can we do to mitigate the problems and how we can cope with the dilemma? Obviously, there is no single tactics that can effectively solve the problem. But there are things that we can do individually that may help us stay more in control of our situation and keep in good balance. First, it is very important to understand that social media platforms are designed for us to showcase a curated version of ourselves that may not reflect the reality of our lives. It's important not to compare ourselves to the highlight reels we see on those platforms. Secondly, we now know the fact that the corporation uses psychological manipulation techniques to hook us into the game. Then, the logical way of thinking would be to develop countermeasurements so that we can prevent ourselves from being manipulated so easily and defend ourselves. To do that, you need to look into your mind and psyche. You need to know what's in your mind and strengths and weakness by paying attention to your thoughts and emotions. You want to know what makes you become addicted and more dependent on social media. And then learn a healthy way to manage your emotion without relying excessively on addictive substances or others for emotional support. This can include practicing mindfulness, engaging in activities that bring you joy, seeking therapy or counseling. Preventing addiction and emotional dependence is an ongoing process that requires self-reflection, self-care, and a commitment to the personal growth. Another thing that you can do is to establish healthy boundaries between yourself and social media and maintaining a sense of autonomy. That's very important. We can make our own decision on how to use it and when to use it. You don't want to lose control while playing a social media game. These are all practical tactics that you can use to mitigate the negative impact of social media. But I would like to share my own way of dealing with things whenever I feel life gets hard and a situation is out of my hand. I often turn to century-old wisdom to seek guidance or inspiration, which is often relevant and quite a powerful medicine for present-day problems. And the wisdom that I like to share with you today is a symbolic meaning of the lotus flower. Lotuses are aquatic plants that often grow in the murky water. Plants sink their roots in the water-covered soil, and the stem grows in the water with the flower bud at the top. When the bud shoots up above the water surface, the delicate petal begins to unfurl in the shade of white, pink, yellow, or blue, revealing an ethereal beauty. Because it rises above the muddy water, which represent the act of rising above all obstacles, madness, and attachments, the lotus flower is considered a symbol of purity, and it has been considered as a sacred flower in Buddhism, the key to spiritual awakening and enlightenment. That's why the Buddha is sitting on the lotus flower. The lotus flower resembles the perfect image that we try to project on the social media, where no one sees what's underneath. While nothing wrong about projecting the best image of the self, what matters is the motives and the psyche behind it. Maybe we should ask ourselves, who am I that is projecting that image? It is a true self or not? And why doing it in the first place? Those are actually hard questions to answer. Although repackaged in the social media age, they are fundamental questions about who you are and how you want to live your life that humans have always asked since the evolution of humanity. You can't answer it without looking deep into yourself and examining who you really are. So, what is the wisdom of lotus flower that might help us mitigate the problem and cope with the social media dilemma? The lotus flower inspires me with its beauty and purity that doesn't seek approval and validation. They are just fully expressing themselves and reaching their full potential. And maybe that is the mindset and the psyche that we want to have and want to live like. Also, just as the lotus flower are deeply connected to the soil, we cannot disconnect ourselves from where we are from. Family, culture, history, and all kinds of messiness of life. We are all grown in murky water. You need to forgive yourself for your messiness and imperfection, and instead practice compassion for yourself so that you can be honest with yourself. When you honor who you are and your roots, you can stay grounded and shoot up above the water to let your authentic self shine. You really don't need a validation from others. Also, let's practice compassion for others. It's important not to judge. What we don't see underneath everyone's smiles and perfect shots are many struggles, hardship, tears, and histories in which we have no clue what people might have gone through. We want to cultivate the culture of kindness, respect, and acceptance rather than comparison. Turning to century-old wisdom may not give us easy answers or a quick fix to our problems, but I hope it helps you recognize that we are all part of the human history, one that has been unfolding for centuries, and find comfort and inspiration in the face of one of the most daunting obstacles. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it, subscribe my channel, or leave a comment. If you're curious about Lovetheway's art collection, please go to www.lovethewayart.com. Thank you for watching. See you next time.